You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. It is Labor Day, and we are here with you. My second show on Labor Day was on the radio this morning. Yeah, a holiday. Okay, now, big story today. Judge grants Trump's request to have a special master review document seized in Mar-a-Lago raid. As it's revealed, FBI agents took medical records from Trump's home. Oh, that's a new one. I had not heard about the medical records before.
Oh, my gosh.
Isn't that new to you? Is that new to you?
Yes, I've never heard that.
Has anyone heard that before? Let me go through this, and then I'll tell you what I think as we go on. A federal judge in Florida has granted Donald Trump's request to have a special master review the documents seized during the raid on Mar-a-Lago, granting a key demand of President Trump and tapping the brakes on the government's investigation. The judge, which is a Trump-appointed judge, approved Trump's motion. Now, this is an interesting thing. The judge came out with this ruling on Labor Day. Labor Day is a big American holiday. Everything's closed on Labor Day. Big commie holiday, the labor movement. So she did this on a big holiday. Everything is closed, right? Really? So anyway, let me go on here. She approved Trump's motion to appoint a special master to review the seized property for personal items and documents and potentially privileged material subject to claims of attorney-client and or executive privilege. The Trump-appointed judge also temporarily enjoins the government from reviewing and using the seized materials pending the completion of the review. That grants Trump and his legal team a side benefit of stalling the fast-moving proceedings that have unfolded since the August 8th search. Well, first of all, I don't think Trump is trying to slow things down. I don't know where they get that from. But I'm going to tell you this, okay? The special master is a waste of time. The special master, even though I know Trump requested it and it's a Trump judge, that buys time for the government. The government wants to slow things. Typically, when federal prosecutors go after someone, they want to move fast because they've got some evidence that gets them a warrant. They go after – I'm not talking about Trump, but if it's like a real criminal, right, if they have someone that's actually done something. And the person who they are going after, they're trying to slow things down because they're trying to put off the inevitable so that their defense team can find some loophole to get them off or get things reduced. The opposite has been going on here. Trump is the one that's been pushing and advancing and trying to get things going. But –
so why is he requesting this? Do you think
well,
his
because he wants
it?
Because they took these medical records now we're learning about. They took some other privileged materials between him and his attorneys, and they want those materials out. But
I think all ex-presidents have documents, and one of his lawyers said a lot of this stuff is for his library. And he is going to start thinking about that. I'm sure it'll be here in Palm Beach, which will be amazing.
I can't wait. I'm going to volunteer to work there.
I mean, we'll be there all the time.
Yeah.
And can you imagine Trump's library, how cool? You know it's going to be top of the line.
All
Everything
gold.
It's going to be amazing. He might even have his campaign plane, the one with the Rolls-Royce engines. You never know. Someday might be parked there. But a lot of the documents, they said, were for that and other things. And I think presidents have the ability to classify or unclassify things. And they have certain privileges that obviously an average American doesn't have. So I don't know how I feel about this special master or whatever. I've never heard of this before. But to me, I worry that it's just one more person that can be bought off and come out and say something bad about Trump so it could backfire.
The special master, the only time – I'm not a lawyer. I love all these people that act like they know everything.
I know.
I've heard of a special master on an episode of Law and Order. Okay, they brought in a special master in one case. I never heard of it before either.
Maybe that's where Trump heard about it.
He might have. Maybe. You never know. But the special master is going nowhere. A week ago, I was certain that they were going to indict him, move him around. And now, a week later, I'm not so sure because here we are approaching a month. This week, it will be 1 month since the FBI break-in of Mar-a-Lago, and they have not come out with anything. You know, when the police, even local police, do a big bust like this, or the feds, it's usually like a drug dealer, right? So they do this big break-in, and then they have a press conference, and then they have like all the money and drugs seized on a table. and this is what we see. There's been nothing like that with this. They've got nothing. So now I know they still want to indict him. Last week I was convinced, but when we've seen the developments, also the just disaster of that Biden speech in Philadelphia the other night, at Independence Hall, from the speech from from Satan's lair in hell with the red background.
Horrible.
I would say now I went from like 100% they were going to have an indictment to 60-40 against an indictment because they've got nothing, and public opinion has turned against them so much.
That's true. I think the fact that they had that Biden had the timing would not be good right now. And the longer they wait, the less effective it would be for them, because people have moved on to something else, and it also, can look like what it is an act of desperation. I think if they had something, they would have done something by now. And I feel that they're just going to keep fishing and keep looking. I don't know what else they could do. I mean, I thought it was absolutely awful at the rally when he said they raided Barron's room. Why would they need to go into his son? Did they think he was hiding stuff in his son's room?
I'll tell you.
These are sick people.
Yes. A couple things about that.
That was very upsetting.
Going into Barron's room. Okay. You got to understand, these people, including the ones that did the raid, okay, they hate Trump like nobody's business. And I don't know how many of you have had people who are consumed with hate, but I've dealt with this because I've been a public person my whole life, right? I've been on the radio my whole life. And, Steve and I'm not going to say who this was, but I mentioned on the radio today on Friday, Steve Kane and I had lunch with a very famous person on Friday at Wings Plus in Coral Springs on Sample Road. And it was such a big deal. We were in a private dining room that nobody else was in, okay, for lunch. And we were in this particular
people are really trying to guess. It's
I'm not going to even give any hints as to who it was. And we had a very intimate and private conversation with this person. And so I can't reveal who it was even with, okay, because of the discussion. But they were talking about a couple of people in particular who their whole life revolves around hating them and causing
trying
them
to
trouble.
Destroy them.
And
it's like a dog with a bone. They just won't let it go.
And I have people like that. I have people in my life that you out there in the listening audience have never heard of or heard or anything, call me or anything on the air, that have been basically in one way, shape, form or another stalking me for 25, 30 years.
It's true. It's like they hone in on you and they make it a mission in life.
It's really creepy. And no matter – and with people like that, no matter what you do, it's wrong, it's bad, you're a terrible person. Right. And it's really hard to understand other than they're just sick. And so getting back to the break-in of Mar-a-Lago.
Well, it becomes an obsession.
What happened?
It's an obsession they have.
What happened with these people that broke into Mar-a-Lago is they hate Trump with the passion. Certainly the ones that were in charge. They might have recruited some local agents who had to go along with it. But maybe they hate Trump too. I don't know. But certainly the people that were in charge of the search after they broke into Mar-a-Lago are hardcore Trump haters to carry out such a disgusting mission. This is what happened, in my view, in my opinion, based on what we know now. When they broke in, they went through everything Trump had, right? They broke into the safe with a safe cracker. They went through his desk. They went through all this stuff. They found nothing.
Right. And
they got panicked. They think he is as evil as El Chapo. So they went into Barron's room. I'll talk about Melania in a second, but they went in the Barron's room because criminals – you ever watch Cops? I used to watch Cops all the time. I know it's on the Fox Nation app. I don't watch that, but I used to watch Cops like in the 80s and 90s like everybody else. And how many times did you see the police, go into some drug dealer's house and all the drugs were stashed with the diapers or in the baby stroller? Kathy and I remember this, Kathy? We were at the mall once at Christmas time. And police descended en masse on this lady pushing a baby stroller for shoplifting. Yeah. And she denied it. And they went into the stroller with all the baby formula and diapers and baby wipes and all these stolen goods were in there. Remember this? Yep. She got arrested right in front of us. And she was, by the way, the grandmother. She had her baby as she was shoplifting. So that's what these cops are used to dealing with. So
they deal with criminals, so they think. I guess they think like criminals.
They think Trump's a criminal, even though he's so they think Trump is such a criminal, like El Chapo or this woman with the baby stroller. It makes sense to them. Well, of course, he keeps everything in Barron's room.
I think you're right.
And Barron. We don't know what, Barron's 16. We don't know what he does, but if he's like, I do know that he's into gaming.
Yeah, I was going to say he looks like he'd be into gaming, like all kids
I've heard.
That age.
I think President Trump has mentioned he's into games, or maybe one of his brothers, Don Jr. or Eric, have mentioned. Somebody in the Trump family has mentioned he probably has computers, so they probably went in there looking into his computers. I wonder
if they seized his computers.
They may have.
Because I know Trump probably doesn't have a computer.
No, he doesn't do anything in email or anything.
But I think you're right. They went into his room and
looking through his computers.
Found nothing. So they went into Melania's closet
now Melania's
and Barron's room to see if they could find something.
Now, so that's why they went into Barron's room, I think.
I agree.
Was to go through his computers. And computers could be a game system because, with game systems you can access internet and send messages and stuff. They probably went through all that.
Well, maybe they figure Trump's hiding things on his son's computer.
Well, yeah, and to them, as absurd as that is, to these Trump derangement syndrome sufferers that broke into Mar-a-Lago, it makes perfect sense. They think Trump's a criminal, and he's got all this stuff on his son's computer. Now, Melania, it came out, a lot of these things we got confirmed over the weekend by President Trump. They went through not just Melania's closet, but they went through her underwear, and it was reported in Breitbart over the weekend that Melania got rid of everything. She felt totally violated.
I had said that on the show. I said she will get all new clothes. Any woman would. It's a violation. How can you wear those clothes after they've been handled by all these people and thrown on the floor? And it's awful. I wonder how she's going to handle, because they're going to be moving back to Mar-a-Lago within, a couple months.
They usually come home around Thanksgiving.
And, I know Trump loves Mar-a-Lago, so I wonder how they're going to do this. Are they going to totally redecorate it? Are they going to get rid of all the furniture? I would worry about bugs and other devices, and I don't mean creepy crawlies. I mean, like, listening devices.
Of course.
Other things. Can they do a sweep of this and to find these things? I mean, what kind of stealth technology do they have? I'm sure they planted some stuff there to listen.
I don't know.
And I'd be worried about video cameras being planted. I would clean everything out. Everything. I'd have everything bare, walls only. Then I'd have a team go through the walls with electronic devices, all new furniture, outlets, all new clothes. Everything. Trump's going to have to get all new blue suits with red ties, all new stuff. Really, they got the money. Why not? I mean, and get Barron all new clothes and furniture, a new computer, everything. But I think that's a real violation, going through her closet, her clothes, and then going to me.
And her underwear
because their son is a minor. Going through his personal room, and I'm sure they seized his computer. I'm sure he has a laptop with him in New Jersey, but I'm sure he has a computer at home. And if he's into gaming, he has a gaming computer like our daughter. So I'm sure there's nothing on it, but they're thinking, you're right, I bet he hides it here. I bet he hides it there. And then
that makes sense to them.
I just really want to see that footage, and I want to hear the audio of that footage.
I hope there's audio.
Because the audio is going to be so telling, because they're going to be communicating with each other. And you're going to hear, if that happened, they're going to say, like the guy in Miami, in the one video, you always talk about the Glenn Fry Smugglers Blues, where the guy says, we got garbage.
That's right.
You're going to hear them on the video saying, we can't find anything. Mm-hmm. There's nothing here. I mean, maybe it'll be interesting, but I think they'll release it in October. I sure as hell hope they do. Did he say anything about it at the rally?
No. We'll see it at some point. I'd like to know what Melania did with all of her clothes. I'm sure she didn't throw them away. They're worth a fortune.
Maybe she donated them. They'd be
I haven't
worth
heard
a lot
anything
of
about
money.
That. She could donate them or auction them off.
I don't know. Maybe she burned them. I don't know. I would donate them because I think or auction them off. The clothes rated by the Mar-a-Lago. My goodness. I'd want to buy a piece of that.
If Saturday Night Live were a real comedy show,
yes,
as opposed to some Democrat thing, I would do a skit this week, showing Melania's closet and underwear drawer versus Hillary's underwear drawer and closet. Could you imagine?
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
Hillary's got like the granny panties.
Yeah, no, big difference.
Melania's got like Victoria's Secret.
Saturday Night Live apparently is in trouble, and a lot of their cast members are leaving en masse. And there's all these rumors. It's the 50th anniversary that the show's going to go off the air. That it's just dead.
So
Kenan Thomas, who was on it, said in an interview that it needs to go off the air.
The problem with Saturday Night Live is the problem that you have with anything liberals touch. It's no longer a comedy show. It used to be a comedy show, and now they don't want to make fun of liberals, really, and they don't want to do things properly. They just want to use it as a weapon. One of the reasons, if it goes off the air, it's going off the air because Trump's not in the White House right now. So they can't do a whole thing on Trump. If they did things like we just talked about, that would definitely do it. But this raid on Mar-a-Lago, if you look at what's happened here, the Biden regime have had two major media disasters, right? The break-in of Mar-a-Lago, the public completely turned against them. And then this Biden speech last week, they have done two high-profile things. The public reaction has been hardcore against them, and it's really something that they're never going to recover from. Now, I want to take a moment.
And what happened real quick before you move on with the January 6th? Has anything happened with that committee at all? That's been ended.
No, that's pretty much
for over a month.
That's pretty much over, especially with Liz Cheney's loss of her primary.
Yeah, I mean, that just fizzled out completely.
Now, I want to take a moment to talk about Mike Lindell, of course, a great supporter and sponsor of this program and all of my content. And when you go to MyPillow.com, you can take advantage of all the specials there with our promo code Kane. And remember, you're supporting all the content that I do, the podcast that I do with Kathy, my YouTube channel, the radio show. You're supporting everything when you go to MyPillow.com and use our promo code Kane, Kane, and buy something. And I've been telling you guys a lot about the 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper, not only because it's great and will change your life and you'll get the best sleep you've ever had. Kathy and I sleep on one. But also, that is a special right now, the 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper, the same one we sleep on. It's available in all mattress sizes. It's the thickest mattress topper that Mike Lindell makes, 3 inches. It's being offered at the lowest price ever, which is 50% off with the promo code Kane, Kane, at checkout. And they update their specials from time to time. And there's going to be a major update of the specials coming at any time without notice because Christmas is around the corner. And I don't know what the special is going to be with the 3-inch mattress topper then, but I know right now it's 50% off. And you want to take advantage of that deal while it is there. That's a better deal than we got on ours. So go to MyPillow.com, order your 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper with our promo code Kane, Kane, and save 50% off. We'll be right back.
There's a fine line between love and hate. Sometimes there's no line at all. Naya Kumari tells all in her autobiography, The Mind Games He Played, available online at KumariWorld.com. The Mind Games He Played is about a relationship that will have many wondering, why doesn't she just leave him? Anyone who has felt trapped in such a relationship can empathize and learn from Naya's story. In her compelling story, the wrong guy sweeps her off her feet. She thinks he's only single because his wife passed away. However, she soon learns there are plenty of other reasons. Unfortunately, she doesn't learn them until after she has fallen head over heels. Order your copy of this must-read book, The Mind Games He Played, from author Naya Kumari. Available online at KumariWorld.com. In life, it's always best to be kind, be humble, and be free. That's the motto behind the Etsy shop, Free Naked Ink. That's all one word on Etsy.com. Their mission is to promote inner and outer self-love through urban Christian apparel. Free Naked Ink on Etsy carry t-shirts for women of all sizes, including plus size. They also have unisex tees with themes like Don't Fake It Till You Make It. If you face it, God will fix it. Church Girl, and many more. These are great modern Christian tees and totes that all believers will love to wear. You can be who you truly are and still win in life. We are all unique and special in God's eyes, and that's what this shop is all about. Free Naked Ink. That's all one word on Etsy.com. Check them out right now. You'll find great gift items there too. Free Naked Ink on Etsy.com. Now it's time for some trivia questions, sponsored by CreedM.com, who created the first American-made multivitamin and is the first company in the world to be certified climate neutral. Don't know? The answer is Shaklee. Shaklee is a natural health and wellness, skincare, and green home brand that's healthy for you, your family, and the planet. You can find these products or even become a distributor at CreedM.com. CreedM is a veteran-owned distributor of these products. The best part is the owner's transparency. He will not just sell you and never talk again. He actually connects with you. you and is transparent about Shaklee products. He's motivated to help you become a distributor as well. Whether your goal is a healthier life for you, your family, and your planet, or you want to make a business all from home, CreedM.com is perfect for you. Go to CreedM.com. That's CREIDM.com to learn more.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. All right, now, someone left a comment on one of my YouTube videos today that I want to share with you. And I'm really surprised this person doesn't get this, okay? And they're talking about callers to me on the radio. And it's a very, very, very long comment. So I'll just read some of it. And the part I read may sound long. It's much longer than even I'm sharing with you. The woman's name is Linda. I'm not going to give out the full name, Linda, but if you're out there listening, I'm responding to you. I hear less and less from the public because they don't side with your way of thinking, which has become one-sided. And then you dump them, proudly, I might add. My comment, in your opinion, would mean I'm a Democrat, and you would be wrong. I have always voted for the best person to do the job, regardless of the party. Oh, that means a Democrat, by the way. And when they say they vote for the best person for the party, that means they mostly vote for Democrats, and probably all Democrats. I do believe that many feel the same way. Should you continue not listening to the public and using your dump button, I will be too using my dump button. You are better than what you are becoming. Okay, and they mean the dump button by not listening to me. Okay. I find it hard to believe that Linda here does not understand what the dump button is about on the radio, because I talk about it all the time. And I think everybody knows what it is and why it's used. But for those that don't, including apparently Linda here on YouTube, I'm going to explain, okay? In the mornings when I live stream on the radio, I am broadcasting on 6 radio stations, 5 FMs and 1 AM radio station. There are certain words, there's 7 of them, in fact, that are against the law to use on the radio. There are other restrictions as well, including the incitement of violence, certain slanders against people that I can't be specific because, these are things, certain slanders against people, inciting violence, 7 words that you cannot say, and there are a few other things that you are forbidden by federal law from saying on the radio, okay? So when we are on the radio, we are on a delay. And if you're listening to me on one of the 6 radio stations, what you're hearing was 30 seconds ago. That's a long delay. There's a 10-second delay from my studio to the radio station's main control room, all right, from our home base radio station, because we're on multiple radio stations networking with other radio stations. The main control room has a 20-second delay. So they get it. So that's added to it. So it's 30 seconds. And the reason that is when someone uses one of the 7 words, uses one of the phrases you're not allowed to use on the radio by federal law, you hang up on the caller and you dump it. Linda here acts like I'm dumping something because someone disagrees with me, or I don't like what they're saying, or maybe they got the best of me. If you think that, Linda, you're not very bright, because I'm sorry to say, because I talk about this all the time. So also, when I'm on the radio, and I do not have to do this, I take all the calls to the show screenless. And what I mean by that is I answer the calls live on the air. We have a producer who runs the controls in the master control room at the radio station. He could answer the phones for me. But I don't do that, and I don't do it for a number of reasons. One, I talk about quite a bit. It makes the show more exciting for me when I don't know what's coming. I think it makes the show more exciting for the listeners, too, when at any moment in time a caller could get me because it's screenless. I don't know what they're going to talk. I have no time to prepare. If on other radio shows, they screen calls. They put the name, where they're calling from, and the subject they want to talk about. And I don't know what subject they're going to talk about until I say, you're on the radio, what's your name, where are you calling from? And I got to deal with it. So I think that makes the show more interesting and more exciting. Also, there's two other reasons, too, that we do the call screenless. One, if someone answers the phone, a caller to a radio show will get off their chest what they want to say. So when they get on the radio, they're repeating themselves, and they're not as excited, okay? Thirdly, call screeners start doing things, right? Like not deciding, well, this caller shouldn't be on the air, so they don't put them through and things like that. I don't do that. So we take all the calls screenless on the air. I only dump people because they say things that you're forbidden by federal law from saying on the radio. So I have to dump it so it doesn't go out over the radio. That's it. I'm not dumping people because they're saying something I disagree with. And that's federal law. That's not me. Okay. I mean, can this person be this dense?
No, I think Linda is somebody that is not named Linda. And I think Linda is somebody else that you use the dump button on and either banned for certain reasons. It sounds like a disgruntled caller. Well, and they're trying to call you out. It sounds because they wrote such a lengthy thing. It seems personal,
like 300 words or 500 words.
Yeah, it's like an essay here if you see it, and it seems personal.
Had shorter papers in college.
Take a screenshot and post it in the community section of the page on YouTube. That'd be kind of fun. It seems personal. I think Linda is somebody that felt that called in, that was cut off. Somebody you used the dump button for, or some caller recently, I won't name names, that was banned for using the F word. But it seems like a personal, disgruntled person. Like
last week, Louisiana was banned from the radio. And Louisiana, I had to dump.
Could be Renee, Louisiana.
Many times.
Yeah.
And Louisiana, at the top of their lungs,
Greg too,
shouted out, F you multiple times, the full word as loud as they could, trying to do that was it. You just can't do that. But this, come on.
If it's Linda, if it is a Linda, call in, please. Call in to the show and let Brian know it's you. And see what happens. But
when
I have a feeling it's not Linda.
When you're broadcasting on the radio, it's not like you're sitting in your living room talking to your husband or your friends. There's standards that you have to go by.
You're on a schedule.
According to federal law.
Right.
Now, there's another thing too I want to explain about callers and on the radio. Okay, we've had a recent expansion on the radio show, networking with other radio stations. All of our breaks are hard breaks, meaning we're networking with other radio stations, so I have to break on time, on a dime. So sometimes I'll be in a conversation with a caller, and I'm up against a break, and I'll say, I'm sorry, got to go. And then I'll be quick and end the call at the end, but that's just because I'm going to get cut off because I've got a break at a certain time because of the networking with the other radio stations. And we're networking with news, traffic reporters, weather reporters, and all these things. So no, believe me, I am not dumping people or disconnecting calls because I disagree with them. Are you kidding me? I'm a little upset about it because
and the thing is,
I think I am very open about when somebody said, like today, I'd use the dump button twice. One person said the F word, right, and then I had to hang up and dump them, and another person said something that I can't repeat that was not profanity, but they said something very awful that you can't say that I had to dump too. Yeah. So what were you saying, Kathy?
No, I was saying it's not like they can't call back and call in. The only time, very, very few callers get banned. I mean, look at all the liberal trolls that have been calling you for years and years. Greg too, and the Jamaican Wayne and all these people that have called.
There's 2 or 3 people that are banned.
That there's very few people. You can count on one hand how many people Brian has banned from calling in. And it's usually for a very, very, like a Wheezy, you had to do it.
There's
very good reason.
Okay, there's Louisiana, 3 people banned.
Because they kept saying the F word. There's good reasons, and it's not because they disagree. There's a lot of callers that call in all the time that disagree with you. And if they feel they've been cut off or didn't get enough time, they can call the next day and finish their thought.
Yeah, there's 3 people that are banned, okay? Louisiana, and I just told you why. Wheezy did something that I cannot repeat. That's how bad it is. Okay, something that's that Wheezy said something that is illegal. Okay, and there's one other caller banned who made a sexual comment about Steve's wife and his sons. And actually, Steve told them they could apologize for it and they would be permitted to call in again, and they wouldn't do it. So they're banned. So we have 3 people banned, and all 3 of them are liberals. And, so the reason I take that personally is because, and I've talked to people about this before, in the line of work that I am in, I am the most accessible person in the broadcast industry. That's a professional broadcaster. I mean, there might be some guy doing a podcast in his bedroom that gives out his cell phone number, his podcast or something. But I'm talking about someone that's like a professional broadcaster on the radio and all the other things I do. You can get me even on the phone when I do live streams at home. I take calls on my live streams at home sometimes. You can get me on the radio screenless any weekday morning. There is no one that you have access to like you have me. And if you have any beef with me, call me up on the air and we'll talk. All right? I mean, this keyboard warrior thing, don't hide behind that. You can call me up on the air at any time. You can call me out on it. And if I'm wrong, it'll come out in the conversation. But I think that you'll find out that I'm right and you're wrong on these things. So don't accuse me of such a thing. I mean, it's real. I take it personally because it's an insult. Because I make a big deal about being open, transparent, and allowing everything to fly that we are allowed to. But give me a break. All right, now listen, we're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll get back to the issues outside of our personal issues, all right? I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be back after this.
Jewelry makes you feel special, and personalized jewelry is even better. Exclusively on Etsy, the shop specially for you. That's the letter U and all one word on Etsy.com. Sell custom jewelry that's as unique as you are. The items especially for you on Etsy come with Chinese, Korean, Japanese, or English text. Whether you want a name on a bracelet, keychain, tie clip, a ring, necklace, and more. They have exactly what you were looking for. Specially for You works with 2 very talented designers, and their items are handmade in Seoul, South Korea. Ordering is easy. Just go to their shop, specially for you. It's all one word and the letter U on Etsy.com. Place your order, tell them the name you choose, your font, and your language. The items are top quality and shipped directly to you or the recipient of your choice. Everything in the shop looks great. You will be proud to wear and give as a gift jewelry from Specially for You on Etsy.com. Are you living with menopause? You're not alone. How would you like to get rid of those hot flashes, night sweats, those hormone-driven roller coasters you're on, and that stubborn hormonal belly fat? You can do all that and more. From author Brenda Nobelli comes the book Menopausally Magnificent, available on Amazon. This must-read and life-changing book is your guidebook filled with easy-to-apply natural remedies to the common symptoms of menopause in 4 weeks or less. What are you waiting for? Say goodbye to the signs and symptoms of menopause naturally. Order your copy of Menopausally Magnificent from author Brenda Nobelli on Amazon. Available in Kindle and paperback. If you're looking for some fun t-shirts with a MAGA viewpoint, look no further than Parody Boss Designs. That's all one word on Etsy.com. They have funny Biden parody t-shirts, pro-Trump shirts, patriotic shirts, pro-Trump hats, and much, much more. Start shopping right now. Go to Etsy.com and search Parody Boss Designs. That's all one word on Etsy.com. Parody Boss Designs on Etsy.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Earlier today, Kathy and I were watching on YouTube Liz Wheeler, and she had Nick... I guess his name is Searcy on, who's a pretty well-known character actor. I've seen him in a lot of stuff.
He's a very good actor. He was I didn't recognize him at first.
Oh yeah, I recognized him.
But he was in Castaway, and then you said he was in Fried Green Tomatoes, and he played Frank Bennett. And Frank Bennett, I've seen that movie many times, was like a vicious wife beater. Mm. And that guy was a bastard in that movie. And he's a very good, very nice guy. But a great actor. Usually plays a bad guy.
Yeah, and I've seen him do some comedy, too. He's very funny. But he's surprisingly political. and is a conservative out in Hollywood. And he's made a new documentary that is available on I forgot the name of the platform. It's on Locals. And it's called Capital Punishment, and it's about January 6th.
Yeah, it looks very good.
And he goes around interviewing people that had run-ins after. There was one guy. He was with his family. His daughter's 13, and
he hadn't even gone in the building.
Yeah, he was out in front of the Capitol, didn't go in the building, and the feds broke in his front door and his back door while he was home with his kids. It was scary.
And handcuffed his 13-year-old daughter, they said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can you imagine?
No.
13-year-old daughter?
No.
But he brought up
That's horrific.
Dr. Simone Gold, who's one of the frontline doctors, and you've seen her, and he told something about her that I did not know. Now, I know some of you may be aware of this, but I keep up on
I didn't know this either.
All of this stuff. And this is one that I had not heard yet. Now, we know she got a short prison sentence of like 2 or 3 months
She'll lose her medical license too.
Yeah, for trespassing. I think it was a trespassing charge, a misdemeanor that she, by the way, pled guilty to. But what Nick Searcy, he told some information. I knew all that, of course. But he told some background on Dr. Simone Gold. And you know her. She's the front person with America's Frontline Doctors. She's the one that heads up the press conferences on TV all the time. She showed up to the Capitol to make a speech in front of the Capitol. And she was actually invited inside the Capitol by the Capitol Police. They told her to go inside and make her speech from inside. And she went in the rotunda with her bullhorn and did her speech after the Capitol Police invited her in to do it. And now here she is, 2-3 months in the federal penitentiary, forced into pleading guilty. I don't think she realized she's going to. That's the maximum sentence, I'm assuming, for the misdemeanor conviction.
I kind of wish she would have fought it in court.
Well, you're facing years.
Yeah.
She was facing years,
just for trespassing, even though she was. Well, she wasn't trespassing. No. She was invited in.
She pled guilty to. They got her to plead guilty to a lesser charge. Right. They were going to go to trial and prosecute her with more serious charges, which were felonies.
It's awful.
So
These are political prisoners.
She pled guilty to a misdemeanor, and they gave her 3 months in federal prison, which is just stupid.
I think his documentary, I want to see it, is
it's on Locals.
Going to show a lot more of the FBI's involvement, and I think it's going to really surprise people with January 6th. He also talked about another agent that was working that day and was there, and
undercover.
Yeah, I mean, so he mentions Ray Epps. It'll be interesting. I want to see that, and then of course Wednesday we have to see My Son Hunter comes out. I'm going to buy that. I sent the link to everybody in my family to buy that. We're going to watch that Wednesday.
To
talk about that. That's going to be a good one.
If we can, because I'm imagining that site's going to collapse. Now,
I'm going to pre-order it.
Now, this January 6th documentary that Nick Searcy put out, it's on Locals. You look him up, Nick Searcy, and it's Searcy. And you can get it for, I think, $10 on Locals, or you can join for an entire year for $50. And I think we should watch that too, Kathy.
Yeah, it's 2 things we need to watch.
And we'll watch that this week. And Simone Gold, and I believe that story. I believe him. I believe her.
And there's probably many stories like that.
She was totally set up.
It's awful.
Totally set up. And they saw her and they targeted her.
Yeah, because she's a high-profile person.
And and she'll be forever a convicted person who's done time.
We'll see what she says, and if Trump gets elected, he'll pardon everybody. He said he's going to many times.
When?
Now, I wonder if she gets pardoned.
When?
Sorry, when? If she gets pardoned, if he does that, I meant like if he pardons it. But if he does that, does she get her medical license back? Can she apply and get that back?
That's I don't know. She would have to go to the licensing board probably and do some kind of appeal. Because
if you get pardoned for something like that, it's supposed to be as if it never happened, right? Like you were never convicted.
Yes,
it's correct. It's not an expungement or a commuted sentence. It's pardoned. That
totally wiped away. Didn't happen.
So she should, and it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure she will do a lot of interviews. Tell her side of the story. And I understand taking a deal when you're faced with something. It's frightening, and in federal prison and all this, and they're like, "Look, just make a deal, and you'll just do 2 months, and that goes by."
I don't think
quick.
She thought she was going to do.
When you're
3 months.
facing years and years, I don't blame her for doing that. I wish she would have fought it. But, she had to do what she had to do. But I hope Trump, when he does get in, does pardon these people. And I think he will. I think he'll run on that.
Oh,
yeah. And I hope she can get her license back.
Yeah. Now
he should make her the White House doctor.
Now at the rally the other night, Pennsylvania, is a pretty amazing rally. And I got some messages this morning from people. It's amazing. This is a big holiday in America, Labor Day. And I don't do holidays except for Christmas.
For sure.
I just don't.
You even work on Thanksgiving sometimes.
I work on Christmas sometimes before everybody gets. Now that our daughter's grown, she sleeps in on Christmas. So, it's not like when she's a little kid. So I'm up early before anybody's up.
You've never worked on Christmas.
I do stuff online on Christmas. Absolutely. We've done podcasts on Christmas. No, but you've never done
a radio show on Christmas.
I've never done
I have to put my foot down with that.
No, I've never done a radio show, but I've done production work for the radio or for the podcast on Christmas.
Yeah, Brian works every day.
I do that.
He's a workaholic.
I have anxiety if I'm not like working.
You're like Trump. Remember he said he went on vacation and he lasted about 3 days and then he had to go back to work? That's how you are. Like, you really cannot just relax. Even on vacation, you're working. Even when you go on the cruise, you tell everybody it's your vacation, but you work too.
Well, yeah, and
you're recording commercials.
The cruise line is talking to me about broadcasting the radio show on the cruise ship.
Brian brings his microphone with him. When we go away for the weekend, he brings his, I'm not kidding.
My recording devices.
He brings his mic and his recording devices all in a little box with him, and he works. It's a working vacation. I have never seen you take a vacation, not since Emily was little, where you actually did not work and just relax.
I can't relax.
No, you can't.
I cannot relax.
You can't even relax when you're asleep.
No, I can't. No, I just,
He's an intense guy.
I'm intense. I'm intense. But I forgot what I was going to say now that you said all that stuff. So it's Labor Day.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how many emails and DMs I'm getting from people on Labor Day about things I talked about on the radio this morning. One other thing that I got several messages about, people are saying I'm too hard on Dr. Oz. Well, here's the thing about Dr. Oz. Macho, who's Leigh Paul, one of our top Patreon supporters, he made a comment that I thought was so spot on about Dr. Oz at the rally. When Dr. Oz came up, and Trump invited Dr. Oz up before Mastriano, and I think he did that on purpose because Dr. Oz has so little personality. This is what Macho brought. You guys know Macho. He's in the chat room all the time. He's also one of our top Patreon supporters. Macho is Leigh Paul.
He's awesome.
Dr. Oz didn't thank President Trump for his endorsement or anything. It was very
Macho
weird.
Pointed that out.
I didn't pick up on that, but
that's just a lack of just graciousness, and being a narcissist.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Just all about him, and I think I feel though like Dr. Oz just can't win. You have to elect him if you're there because you're going to be stuck with this communist loser for 6 years. Can you imagine? And he is friends with Trump. And you have to keep that in mind when you're voting, is he is friends. And Trump even said, we're friends. He trusts him. And I think that if he's in, I think when Trump's in, Oz will be at the White House quite a bit and we'll have Trump's ear. And I think that's important.
Well, I'll tell you
more than a lot of other senators. You can trust him more than Lindsey Graham. That's for damn
I wasn't too happy with Dr. Oz when he went up at the rally. He was very wooden. He didn't say much. It was very vanilla. And it's very strange, but
a lot of doctors are like that.
One thing about Dr. Oz that you have got to remember, because obviously you've got to vote for him in Pennsylvania because this Fetterman guy is
absolutely you have no choice.
He's just a disaster, that guy. But Dr. Oz, during the worst days of the COVID lockdowns, when Dr. Fauci had America and the world locked up in their homes, okay. Dr. Oz was on Fox News Channel every day and every night.
That's true.
And was challenging Dr. Fauci when others were not.
Before Rand Paul.
Yeah. And
putting his reputation on the line.
And it was every day and every night. And it was not popular for him to do that. He was the only high-profile medical person that I saw do that. And so when the times were tough,
that's right,
he was standing up for us against Fauci and standing up for Trump when no one else was doing it at that level.
And I can promise you he would never have done that if he was a liberal.
Yeah, so don't forget
he
that.
He would never have done that if he was really a liberal. He's a conservative.
And I'll say, some of the Dr. Oz criticism and everything, I get it. I mean, I wish he had a stronger personality, but don't forget, he stood up for Trump against Dr. Fauci when no one spoke up against Fauci. And, I wonder, because we had, even though Florida was not shut down, we live in the part of Florida where President Trump is that's controlled by Democrats. And the Democrats had anything they could shut down locally shut down. And I just don't know what people did that couldn't go to work because of the line of work I'm in.
We were so lucky. We were really
lucky.
Worried for a few weeks. I remember after it happened, and it was scary. And we were driving around, and our area is pretty populated, and there's always people on the streets, and the parks are busy on the weekends, and it's like a nice place. And I remember we went for a drive like that first week or the second week, and it was like the night of the comet, and I was driving through, and I'm like, this is frightening. I've never experienced. We all went through that, and thank goodness here it didn't last too long.
The local Democrats had all these curfews, and because of the line of work I'm in, I'm considered media, so I didn't have to go through all that stuff. And I wonder what people. I just wonder, and some of you out there suffered through this. I wonder how people got through it when they couldn't work and earn a living, and it's really scary. And Dr. Fauci doing this retirement thing. This is why I bring this up, because Dr. Fauci is like announcing his retirement. Do you think, Kathy, that they're going to do some big heroes farewell to him? Like basically have like a parade and a big honor guard and all this stuff in Washington?
No, I don't.
You think it'll just be uneventful?
I think they know nobody likes Dr. Fauci.
The Democrats do. Remember Whitmer had like the Fauci pillow behind her?
I don't know. I mean, unless they must, be totally clueless, whoever is helping Biden, because everything they do ends up making them
I hope
look
they
bad.
do that. I hope they do.
I don't think they
like
will.
a big
like a
honor guard
parade. No way.
A big honor guard, bring him over. I hope they do all. I hope they have like
it would be such a disaster.
Like a 500 people in lab coats saluting him on his. I hope they do the whole thing.
I want to mention this thing about Fetterman real quick because you were talking about him. I read this article. Of course, when you read articles on Yahoo, it's very liberal, and they also take publications, they take other articles from other publications and put them in their Yahoo feed. But I don't remember the publication this was from, but they were talking about Trump, talking about Fetterman living off his parents, and they compared it to him taking a loan from his father.
Oh, please. That he
and how he lived off his parents' money. Let me tell you something. Living in your parents' home and spending their money that they earn is very different than taking a loan from your parents and building a company
and paying it back
and working. And anybody who wants to give the impression that Trump does not work hard and has not worked for every penny he has, they're just flat out deluding themselves.
And Trump paid his dad back.
Exactly. We all know what a hard worker Trump is. And we all know that The Apprentice and all the work he did, it goes back 30, 40 years. I remember in high school seeing him on the Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous and seeing him on talk shows, and he was a big businessman, a big developer. He fixed Rockefeller Center and all these buildings, and then the Trade Center, his involvement. He's very big in New York and his involvement in the city. He didn't just sit in his family's house and eat Cheetos and crackers and popcorn all day or whatever in a hoodie and watch TV all day and do nothing. He actually worked. And to make that comparison, I thought that was just hilarious.
And not only that,
that's the liberal spin.
Trump, his father had a successful company, but it wasn't in Manhattan. It was in Queens.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump took a big risk and moved into Manhattan. And look what he did over there. Now, I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. And those of you that are Patreon supporters, yesterday on Sunday, Kathy and I did a Patreon supporter-only podcast episode that we uploaded to our Patreon page. And keep an eye out for those. If you're a Patreon supporter, we do Patreon-only podcast episodes from time to time. And Patreon supporters also have access to commercial-free editions of all of our podcast episodes. And our top Patreon supporters get a live, on-air thank you shout-out on every episode of the podcast and have their names listed in the description of the podcast episodes. And I'm also now doing that on my YouTube videos. The top Patreon supporters, you have your names listed with a big thank you in the description of all the YouTube videos. I've been doing that for a week or so now. And that's just a little addition I've done just to show my appreciation for the support that you give Kathy and myself here. So I want to thank our top Patreon supporters, and the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters: Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, and Macho, who is Le Paul. Thank you all so much for your support. And if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there is a link to our Patreon page in the description of this and every episode. And once you go there, it will walk you through on how to become a Patreon supporter.
Right. And you're like, when you're a Patreon, you're like a sponsor of the show.
You are. Absolutely.
We just say Patreon because that's the name of the website, but you're really a sponsor of the show. And it's very special, very meaningful to us. And you can be a Patreon for just $1 a month, and you get all those perks. It doesn't, the top Patreons get mentioned, but you get the commercial-free shows. We put up pictures and behind-the-scenes stuff all the time that you get access to all of that.
That's right. All right. Hey, listen, guys. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in on this holiday Labor Day. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll talk next time.
From director and producer Jason Lohman comes the action film Rescue. All he wanted was his daughter back. Jake loses his wife and oldest daughter to an unfortunate accident. As Jake and his second daughter Leah are trying to cope with their loss and get their lives back to normal as a new family of two, their lives are turned upside down when Leah is kidnapped. Once Jake learns of Leah's abduction, with training in martial arts and as a veteran, he instinctively pursues the kidnappers. With brazen determination, he sets out on a quest only to find himself one step behind the kidnappers, with Leah captive in their clutches. Jake soon discovers his daughter is being sold to the cartel by kidnappers and does what any father should do: rescue her. Rescue has won many awards and received accolades, and now you can watch this amazing film online at rescue.movie. Watch today Rescue from director and producer Jason Lohman.